You are 8,000 feet in the air. The engine vibration travels from your heels up through your spine. Cold wind threatens to tear the canvas right off the wings. In the 1920s and 30s, flying a combat biplane was an exercise in terrifying fragility. Historically, the adventure genre has often glossed over that reality. Most stories in this space rely on patriotic caricatures and colonial tropes that make early warfare feel romanticized. Author R.K. Olson introduces a disruptive alternative, Jackie Boyd. He is a stateless, Black American mercenary pilot, navigating the geopolitical fractures of the interwar years. Olson writes with the lean, sensory-driven prose of a war correspondent. It moves the series closer to Hemingway than standard pulp fiction. This chart illustrates how the cycle integrates three distinct traditions: Hemingway-esque prose, interwar aviation pulp, and anti-imperial noir, to build its specific world. The dilemma for the reader is one of balance. You need to know if this series functions as a high-speed thriller, a dense historical character study, or if it struggles to reconcile the two. We're going to dissect the prose, pacing, and themes so you can decide if the Jackie Boyd cycle matches your reading priorities. We can map the different stories in this cycle across a pacing matrix. Cash on Delivery sits in the high momentum zone, while a more literary entry like Trotsky's Train prioritizes thematic depth. The character of Jackie Boyd holds these tones together. He is a professional survivor. He defines himself through payment, mobility, and autonomy, rather than patriotic duty. Behind his cynicism is a specific emotional wound, the exclusion he faced in Jim Crow America. France gave him his wings in World War I, providing the mobility to walk away from a country that denied him dignity. There is a trade-off for the reader. Boyd is transactional, sometimes cold, and often greedy. If you are looking for a warm, traditional hero, his detachment might feel alienating. However, that same detachment makes him a realistic anchor for a world where national and ideological loyalties are violently shifting. These stories take place in collapsing borderlands, Manchuria, Vladivostok, and revolutionary Russia. These are environments where empires are dying. In Manchurian Gambit, Olson captures the encroaching threat of Japanese expansion. Foreign soldiers at a Chinese city's gates create immediate tension. Compare that to the exhausted atmosphere of Vladivostok. It's a humid, morally ambiguous world of smuggling and shifting temporary alliances, where the Russian Civil War is always in the background. The pacing trade-off here is that this historical density requires significant exposition. You will encounter passages of background detail that occasionally slow the narrative down. The machines of war, like this armored train, symbolize the crush of historical events. Massive, industrial, and indifferent to individuals. With so many factions and soldiers represented, the characters feel less like they are controlling history and more like they are trapped inside it. That density is exactly what makes the setting feel authentic. It perfectly mirrors Boyd's own experience as a man without a country, navigating a world of violent transitions. Olson handles action differently than modern cinema. He rejects superhuman dogfights in favor of technical realism. He focuses on the sensory details, the engine vibration, the smell of fuel, and the physical flex of fabric wings. This creates a trade-off. If you want light-hearted, escapist thrills, these sequences are technical and sobering. They emphasize the danger of the technology itself. In this cycle, aircraft are tools of empire and desperate mechanisms for escape. They are rarely romantic symbols. This technological mastery is the only place where Boyd is untouchable. On the ground, he has to navigate systemic racism from every faction he encounters. This creates a power inversion. Men who despise him for his race find themselves entirely dependent on his elite piloting skills to survive. We see this in the text when British or Russian officers mock him, only to turn to him for salvation the moment they need to get a plane into the air. This persistent reality of exclusion means the stories never offer pure, unburdened escapism. They are always anchored to the social weight of the era. The contrast between Boyd's superiority in the cockpit and his marginalization on the ground is the primary engine of the series. Ultimately, Olson delivers a cycle of anti-imperial noir that uses the aviation thriller as its structural frame. This decision matrix will help you choose your entry point based on how you prioritize plot and atmosphere. For the action junkie, start with Cash on Delivery. It offers technical dogfights and high-stakes missions, though you should expect the occasional exposition dump. For the literary historian, Trotsky's Train is the best choice. It prioritizes geopolitical tension and atmosphere, even if some secondary characters are relatively thin. If you are looking for fast-paced, morally simple stories where good triumphs easily, this cycle is likely not for you. Jackie Boyd is a modern protagonist because he is mobile and commodified, a man navigating the collapse of 20th century empires through sheer skill. For those willing to trade constant momentum for a meticulous, historically accurate atmosphere, the Jackie Boyd cycle is a highly rewarding investment.